My team is really concerned because I told them that in the 2 sessions, I'm going to do one session with the buyer's agents and sales partners, and I'm going to do another session with the team leaders. And they said, well, what are you going to do for slides? And I said, I don't want any slides. And they said, well, how are you going to know what to talk about? And I said, they'll tell me. So let me tell you what we talked about in the previous session with your buyer's agents and some of the challenges. I'll tell you, first thing I did was we shared with them a little bit about the company called Offers. And Offers does predictive analytics, but they've added a phone calling component. So when they're doing predictive analytics on where people are, what houses are getting ready to list, they actually have people getting on the phones and qualifying leads. And then when the lead's qualified, then they give it back to the team. It's a really cool technology. And so they sponsored that session. So they told a little bit about that. And then I opened up the floor and I said, okay, what's your challenge? What are the things that's causing you stress? What are the things that I can help you with in your business? And we titled the session The Workman Way, and I described what the Workman Way is, and I asked them to tell me what they thought that meant. I said, what's the Workman Way? Somebody said 61 points. Somebody says we can't quit. Somebody else says daily success habits. Somebody else says no excuses. Somebody else says whatever your number is, double it. I'm like, you guys are good. We can call it a wrap. Let's get some more food in here. And then we really started talking about what's going on in their business. I had one agent tell me, I'm a new agent in coaching with Workman, and my team leader is really struggling giving up their buyers because they're referral buyers, and they've had 25, 30 years in business, and these good buyers come in, and they can't let them go. And we're sucking air as buyers agents, and we can't make a living. And it really kills us that we only have 2 listings on the team, and we need to have 10 or 20 so that we can have more opportunities. But our team leader is taking buyers out and driving around. Good question, isn't it? Right? How do you deal with that? So how would you deal with that? You communicate with the client? What do you mean?
Well, you're talking about,
Can we get a couple mics, please? I'm sorry, I want to make sure everybody can hear you. So give it just 1 second. Let's get a couple mics. This is going to be an interactive session. Maybe, Ryan, you can help me out with the mic. Thank you. I choose Ryan because he can still hustle.
And I hope I understood the question, or the situation properly. You're saying somebody who's gotten so busy and they feel like the relationship is waning?
No, that's not the question at all.
Okay.
The question is my team leader won't let go of the buyers, and they've hired buyers agents, but they still take their referral business and keep it.
Okay, I misunderstood the question.
Oh, so now you don't want to answer it? That's all right.
So
Team leader won't give up buyers because they're referrals, and they really love you. They need you.
Oh, they don't.
So Verl, so what I think,
Alfonso's like, no, they don't. They don't even care about you, man.
Just transfer it over.
Go ahead.
So I have this really, really great client. He does commercial. He does wing stuff. He's got like 7 restaurants. We do commercial business with him. I sold his house. We bought a condo together. So he's very active, right? But there was one instance right now he's thinking about moving to San Antonio, and I don't work in San Antonio, so I had to have somebody that I trust, and I think that's the issue that person is having.
But what if they were buying a house in your market?
Well, I will still not be able to do it.
You wouldn't work with them?
Well, no, I would work with them, but I would tell them that I have a great client. A great team member that would do the job.
All right, so can I give y'all some dialogue?
Yeah.
No, the problem is I know you guys can teach a class too. I'm going to help you, but I'm going to help you, and I'm going to give you some really simple dialogue. I know you have this. I know you have this. Listen to me. When you care about your clients enough to not let them down is when you start giving them away. When you care about your clients enough to not continue to let them down. Now you say, I would never let my client down. So that means you're letting the family down, or you're letting your buyer's agents down. You have to choose who you're going to let down because you can't do it all. And so every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And so tell me, what are those other things you're saying no to when you say yes to that buyer? The second thing is the way we communicate it to our clients is all the difference. And that is this: when I sit and meet with a buyer and they want me to work with them, I say, man, I would love to work with you, but I don't ever want you to miss out on a property because I'm not available, so I have a team. And so we have an amazing group of people that are better trained than anybody else you'd ever do business with, and they're going to take you out, make you sure you get in the home so you can make decisions quickly, because that's what's happening in our market. And then when you need me to be involved in the transactions, I'm right there for you. So I'm involved in the most important part of the transaction, and that's really not driving you around. You'll know if you like the house or not. You don't need me to tell you, do you? Bob? With a mic. Thank you.
Is the question, though, that you asked, that I'm interpreting, because it's the team leader who is not giving up the buyer because he wants the income himself, or is it because he doesn't want to relinquish control to another agent because he's afraid the agent won't do a good job? I don't know.
Let me answer
that-
your question
yeah.
with a question. Does it matter?
Yeah. Well, you want me to answer it honestly?
If
I
you
think
wanna
it
go.
does. I think if the team leader is afraid to give it up because I was in that spot once
Right.
at the beginning as well. If he's afraid because he's afraid of losing the income, he has to come from a different place. That needs more work from you or his coach.
Am I ever going to be able to help that team leader double their business if they continue driving buyers around? And so the situation that caused their poverty mentality is that if I don't work with this buyer, I won't make the income,
Right.
is what's going to keep them at that level.
Right.
And so unless I get them to delegate the things that don't give them a high enough return on their time, they're going to continue to be where they are. And so they have to let it go. And it's a hard transition. And so what I like to do is I'll say, you know what, we're going to have a transition period that says for the next 90 days, I'm only going to work with buyers over a certain amount that are direct referrals. And then 90 days after that, I'm only going to work with buyers that are over an even elevated higher price point. And then after that, I'm not going to work with buyers. And what happens is over time, you'll be able to transition it so you don't do it at all. And you need to express what that transition flow is going to be like to your team so they hold you accountable to it. One of the big challenges why we have turnover in our teams is we're not transparent with what our goals are and what our goals for them are. And so they don't know what their opportunity is, and so they self-eliminate because they get frustrated because they still see you out there doing things that you hired them to do. You want to lose assistants? Keep doing their job for them. If you want to have a high turnover with your client care coordinators, keep doing their job. Keep hovering over them and not allowing them to execute on the things that we hired them to do. That's how people eliminate, is they don't feel like you trust them and they don't feel any security in their position because you haven't shared your vision. And so we've got to be transparent with who we are and where we're going. So what I'd like to do today, and the limited amount of time we have, is I would like to open up the floor, and I want you to ask me, or I want you to share with me your most urgent business problems, and I'm going to show you how we go in and we can help. And I want to stay on the theme of developing productive agents. And so our theme for this session is how do we help our people be more productive? How do we develop productive agents? And so on that theme, let's talk about it, and then I may go into my computer and show you resources. I may just share with you a thought process or a way to handle a problem. But I want this to be your session. And so first, let's just have a speed where I want you to throw out questions or things that are concerns. I'm going to put them on the board and make sure that I address them. Who wants to go? Yell it out. Finding talent. Love that.
Getting people to do their tasks.
Okay, anything else?
Accountability, like the new way to see it.
Accountability as a positive instead of a negative.
I think we all fail on that.
Accountability as a positive way instead of a negative. Somebody said something over here.
Finding time to train.
Oh, finding the time to train. Anything else? Bernie? Oh, you're just scratching your head? It's a good thing this wasn't an auction because you'd have bought something huge. I was like 900,000. Bernie's like, yep. Yep. Okay. What else? I'm sorry? Fear of prospecting. Okay. Finding the talent with the skill set to be productive. Okay. Is that a good list? Yes. In your life? Work-life balance? Who said that? Okay, training. So the training of your people.
Formal training program.
For what position? I'm sorry, you want formal training for what position?
Either a buyer's agent or a assistant.
Okay. All right. So, okay, that's a good list. Let's go through it and let's see if I can help you with each of these things in a way that is meaningful, that will allow you to actually take some action and do some things a little bit differently. So, let's start with a couple of the easy ones. Can I knock a couple easy ones off the list? All right. So, let's go to my computer if we can, and let me go into. Hopefully, I'm online and I have a super fast connection. Okay, so what is this? So this is the Workman Success Training Center. And let me go to the main screen on the Workman Success Training Center. You know, I think that we have, well, I'm confident that as a company, we have not done a very good job of really sharing with you the resources that are available inside the training center. And so as clients, you'll have access to our training center. And so I want you to just look at this right here. Okay, since this was your question, I need you right here. Okay? Like you don't have to write anything down. Don't even worry. Don't worry about Sarah. Can't talk. I want you right here. I need you right here. All right. And so, right, are you with me? Okay. I'm going to talk to you, but I'm really talking to everybody else through you. Okay. So, here's the thing. There's 3 programs inside the training center. There's Buyer Agent Mastery, Listing Agent Mastery, and Admin Mastery. Each of those programs contain intense training for every position. When you hire a new buyer's agent, you go into the modules and you have the buyer agent onboarding process, and then you put them into buyer agent mastery. If you do it the way it's designed, you do 2 sessions a week over 8 weeks. And so it's a 2-month training program for a new buyer's agent. Is that what you're talking about? So you got it. Okay? And so all of that's available to all of you that are in coaching with us. Even if you're not a coaching client, it's like $100 a month for all the programs. So it's not even something I sell. It's basically a lost leader. We use that to provide a lot of our teams after they finish coaching or they feel like they're done. Then we have programs to keep them engaged, and this is one of them. And so we built this not to sell it. So I don't even care about the revenue that we generate from selling the training center. We built it as a resource for the teams that we're coaching because that was an authentic problem, is I can't stop doing the business long enough to train my people, and so we built the training. And so now we'll help you through the hiring process, and then they follow the systems and get trained. The challenge isn't the resource that's available. What do you think the challenge is? It's that my team leaders don't know what we're training their agents on in the programs because they haven't taken the time to watch the videos. But yeah, Alfonso's watched it like 11 times. He can quote them. He would send me videos of him on the treadmill at the gym with Verl on the screen as he's watching. Welcome to BAM! He's like, Alfonso. He's like, I got Verl on here and I'm sweating. It's like, you got to know what you're training your people on. So action item number 1 is, as team leaders, I need you to watch all the videos. Like really, I don't even care if you do any of the tasks the first time through. I need you to binge watch, get through it and watch all the videos. Because what happens is when you watch all of BAM and then you watch all of SLAM, is all of a sudden you have clarity on what we're building. And then when you watch AMP, you totally will understand you don't need to train your admin, we will. You need to train them on local stuff and things you do with your local contracts and documents and things like that. But the intensity of the program is awesome, and there's so much amazing content in there. How many of you have had admins go through AMP and really launch it? Tell me what that experience is like. Brooke?
Well, I already had our admin on.
Let's get you a mic. Thank you for the hustle.
Thanks. We already had our admin hired before AMP, and so she went through it when AMP was created, and she said, oh man, if we only would have had this when I first started, it would have been amazing. And so she goes through it frequently and just swears by it. I mean, she downloads the attachments, she refers to it all the time, and it's priceless. It's amazing. The
key is you as a team leader need to understand how to use the resource to answer the questions. And so when a buyer's agent says to you, how do I get a buyer agreement signed? How many of you can just teach that? You can teach them how to do it. All right, I don't want you to. So here's the thing. You can all teach them everything about real estate. The reason you're team leaders is because you're good at the business. I have a high level of respect for your background and your history and the way you do things. However, if we don't teach the buyer's agents how to learn how to do it using the tools and resources, they'll constantly come back to us to answer all of their questions. And so in order to create leverage, you have to know where the answers to the questions reside, and then be able to go in and say, somebody wants to know how to get a buyer agreement signed. Let's go into BAM. Makes sense it would be in Buyer Agent Mastery, right? So let me go into BAM and I'll open up the course. And let's look at the topics. And so ABC's Magic Script, getting a buyer agency agreement signed, there's a video on that. And so I go into session 6, and there's the 5 steps to getting a buyer agency agreement signed, and there's a whole video on teaching them how to do it. And so just because you can do it, does that mean you should? And so the second concept, if there's like a big concept I want you to get here today, it's this. I believe that it's possible that I don't have the best stuff. I mean, it's not likely, but it is possible. And so it's possible that there's better ideas or better content that's out there. However, because you've decided to get involved with this system and this program, just follow it. And so it doesn't matter which one you do, but now that you've chosen one, hey, let's just go all in. So instead of skirting around the outsides and picking a little bit from this one and a little bit from that one, there's a lot of good trainers out there. I want you to go all in and understand what's here, plug into the resources, and then share that with your agents when they have a question. And it's not because you can't do it better, it's because this is the way we're going to teach them to learn. So they go back to the resource instead of back to you for the answers to all of their questions. Does that make any sense at all? Okay, and so at Coach Training today, we talked about the difference between a follower and a disciple. And the difference between a follower and a disciple is all in. It's someone who's walked away from all of the other things and they said, I'm all in and I'm going to follow because I know that if I follow, I'm going to be able to get a predictable result. And so I want you to just not be part of a group. I want you to go all in. And then understand that if the system is lacking or there's something that you wish was there that isn't there, you give that to your coach, and the coach brings it to the crowd, and we crowdsource the solution. We build a system around it, and then it'll be there. Does that make sense? Yes, question at the back, right? Let's get her a mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a way to download just the thing? Because I've sent the BAM to some of my agents, buyer's agents, and they try to watch it all at once.
Yeah.
And then when they have a problem and you want to say, go watch that video, I mean, they're like, where is it? You know, I just wish that each one I could have, that I could just email them that one exact.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
But thank you for asking. No, you want them to go into the Learning Center. Here's why. Because they're going to tell you they're in the Learning Center and they're paying attention and they're watching it. But I can go into my admin page when they're in the Learning Center and I can bring up all your buyer's agents and I can tell you what sessions they've looked at. I can go into my users and I can see how much engagement we're getting on each of the videos. Tell me what to click on, Shiloh.
Our agents?
What? Oh, I need an agent name. I don't know where to find that.
Can we do that as team leads? See what our agents are doing?
The answer is yes. We can have you set up.
Will you give her a mic, please? By the way, everybody, this is the Shiloh.
So the short answer is yes. A lot of people we already have set up in offices. We don't automatically set you up only because a lot of times we don't know how many agents or how many team members you have. So when you start to have multiple agents, that's when we set up your office. And that's when we do give you admin access. A lot of times it might be easier or faster if you just email me and say, hey, can I have a report? Otherwise, we will be more than happy to talk you through how to get into that admin access so that you can see your people individually.
So if you have buyer's agents and you have a lot of them, then we'll probably set you up so you have a higher level access. In the general subscription, we don't do that because you can just say, hey, can I get a report? But we can see what videos they watched, have they completed them, what percent complete they are. What I recommend you do at the training center is you run courses. And so we put all the buyer's agents through BAM. We do 2 videos a week as part of our weekly training. We watch the videos together. They do the assignments. You hold them accountable. You make them turn the assignments into you or your lead buyer's agent. And that creates energy around the team and the system. And that's the way you get a higher level of adoption. So great question. Sarah?
I just wanted to say, when you ask for the report, make sure you give their full name.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because Mike is in there more than once.
I just wanted to give a little testimonial about what you were saying earlier. I've been coaching with Workmans for about 2.5 years, and for the first year, it's just like he says, that first year is really hard, and you're trying to remember all these forms and all these things. And I never went into BAM, I never went into SLAM, I never went into AMP. I'm a team leader. And then this year, I am happy to be a coach now with Workmans. And so one of the requirements is we had to watch all these things. And when I watched all these things, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, this is in here. I had no idea. And we're recreating the wheel all the time because I didn't pay attention to what was in here. So honestly, truly, get in there and look at that stuff because it's all in there. And give yourself the time to learn these things. You know, if you're frustrated and you feel like things aren't going fast enough, it's just because you're full, and you're going to get to that point where things will slow down and make more sense to it.
You know, thank you. And one of the cool things I showed this morning is I showed Sarah's like 30-day launch where it had BAM, AMP, SLAM, what you do. That's like an intense, crazy maniac's way of getting through the programs. But that's really what, as team leaders, you need to do, is you need to just turn it on and go watch them. And then once you watch them, you have a vision of what we're creating, and then you feel comfortable letting your assistant go through it and build the systems. And then they'll go in and customize it for the 10% of the things you do that are a little bit different. So the key with the creating the training systems for your team is, first, you have to understand what we're training them on. Second is develop how you want them to go through it. It's designed to be two videos a week. And then turn your assignments in, then do 2 videos the next week and turn the assignments in. SLAM, on the other hand, the listing agent program, is really designed for you as team leaders. For those of you who are out there listing, and we took people that are some of our best listers in this room, and we said, what do you do? How do you do it? What can we share? And they said, here's everything. And then we went in the studio and we cut videos on the listings, and it is awesome. How many of you have gone through SLAM and changed the way you list as a result of some of the activities that are there? So give me an idea of some of the things you're doing. And Jim, I'll come to you in one sec. Ryan, do you have the mic, please? Oh, Jim had it, sorry. Jim hates it when I take his mic.
I'm going to be embarrassed to admit this, but my listing presentation pretty much beforehand was a piece of pen and a Post-it note. And I just went in there and asked, what are your questions? What can I answer for you? And I would say it was different, but it wasn't the oomph. And it wasn't anything that I could recreate with any of my other agents.
It wasn't a duplicatable system.
It wasn't duplicatable at all. And it worked for me, and that's where my confidence was with that, but it wasn't for my agents, and that's what I needed. So we did a pre-listing packet, and we created a listing packet that is simplified, that can still be as simple as a Post-it note, but yet there's more info to it.
I love that, and that's exactly why we created it, right? And so how many of you are really successful just showing up? All you have to do is show up, and you're going to get the listing. Raise your hands. Okay, so I want you to know, look at you, that's normal. The challenge is, and you nailed it, was it's not duplicatable. There's a reason you're the team leader, because you're exceptional. Every one of you is good. I put Bob in any market, give him the MLS data, and he's going to go out and list as good as any listing agent in the country. You believe that? I mean, I just know you will. But how do we duplicate what you do so well naturally is you got to create a system around it. And once you create that system around it, then all of a sudden you understand the power of leverage. So when Clee was talking about moving closer to the problem, if you really want to solve it, where your focus needs to be is it needs to be on understanding the tools and the systems you have available so that you can elevate your people with a low level of effort. Was that a great example this morning? Did you guys get it? I stood up there like this most of the time, and I watched that, and I got it at a higher level. So that was a great talk for me to be part of because I understood better the power of leverage. I thought it was a very good demonstration on understanding where your focus is makes it easier or harder to accomplish the task. Anyway, okay, so that's good. So does that answer your question? Training, can we train agents at any level, any size team? Yeah, just plug them in. But you got to know the content. So you have to make your commitment is get engaged in the content, know it, and then bring people in and let's get them trained in it. Okay, let's go through the next one. Jim, oh sorry, is there anybody else that had Jim? Did you want a Jim? Go ahead, bud.
So just back to AMP and BAM, now as part of the onboarding calls for new coaching clients, I'm actually having them binge watch both of them to start, because there was a big gap between people doing it. And then the first ones, their first assignment is to do the business planning one. So those of you who came in previously, we weren't as pushy about it. But the other thing is that one of the biggest things I hear on welcome calls, and I talk to everyone who comes into the company, is what a great lister they are. I've never had a call where somebody says I'm a horrible lister. Actually, I did have one last week. But Cleve Gaddis did a great thing for us as coaches, and he talked about his target goal is 60%, 60 to 65% conversion rate. And the reason is if you're listing 100%, you're only talking to your family. So just remember, as you're going through SLAM and you're getting really good at this, your conversion rate's actually going to go down because you're doing it more. So when you talk about SLAM was an amazing program because we sat with Christy and we sat with Rick Jihan, we sat with Brooke, and we actually started with a rollout of what the script and what the program was, and then we sat at desks this long on both sides with the papers coming down and being written. Those things changed right up until they were run, and it is probably the best thing we've done. So
Wasn't that cool?
We
It's
don't
kind of
talk,
cool to see that process.
We don't talk about that one as much as we should because it's more in-depth and it's just for you guys, but it is probably the best thing we've done, so make sure you watch it.
One of the I'm going to change topics. Thank you, Jim. One of the most common things we get from everybody that we're in front of, whether it's a group of agents that have never seen me talk before, or whether it's existing coaches at coach training, is the next topic that I want to talk about, and that is the challenge of time. And who brought up time? How do I have life balance, right? Time management is such a huge problem. I did a demonstration at one of the conventions this year, and I wish I had all the pieces to be able to demonstrate that to you, but what I did is I took water bottles and I wrote down all the important things we have to do in our lives. We have buyer's agent, listing partner, husband, wife, father, administrative assistant, all of the tasks that we do and all of our critical things, coach. And I say, okay, how many can you juggle? And the guy came up and he says, well, I don't know. And I said, well, let's see how many you can juggle. So he picked 3 things. And he started juggling 3. And I said, okay, are these the 3 most important things in your life? He said, father, husband, and spouse, right? Oh, wait, is husband and spouse the same thing? Yeah. Father, husband, what was the other one? Give me another big important one. Family. Yeah, kids, whatever. Okay, he gave me 3. Kids, right? The 3 things that are most important to you, okay? It was father and grandfather and spouse. So I think it was those 3. And he said, those are my 3 most important things, and I have these 3 things. And I said, great. Okay, now do you also work with sellers? And he says, yeah. And I says, you got to hold another bottle. So I gave him another bottle, so now I had 4. And I says, do you also work with buyers? And he says, yeah, I know I shouldn't, but I do. And I said, all right, so let me give you another bottle, and gave him buyers. And I said, do you feel confident in everything you delegate to your assistant? And his assistant sitting on the front row said, and I said, what do you mean by that? And she says, he won't let me do anything. He hired me and does it all himself. And I picked up the bottle that said assistant, and I handed it to him, and now he's got 5. 6, whoever's counting. For me, that's just each of my kids. And so I said, okay, now juggle. And he says, well, I can't. And I said, so you have to look at the lids that have all the names of these important things and tell me which ones you're going to drop to juggle the other 3. And he says, well, I don't want to drop any of them. And I says, you already are. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet. And he had this look on his face that he finally got it, that when you cannot say yes to all of these things. And so you have to decide which things you're going to let down. And so what I say is you can either turn them down or you can delegate them. So there's a right size for every business, and nobody should tell you what that is. And it's okay for you to choose what that right size is. You know, if for you it's 30 transactions a year, that's a great right size. I love that. Do it. But if it's 200, then let's do that. And when you get to 200, if you feel like there's another level, then come over and talk to Lee and say, Lee, can we do 4? Can we? Lee says, yeah, we can do 400. So why do you have limiting beliefs that say you can only do 2? The difference is that you have experiences that have formed these beliefs in your mind today of what's possible, and there's a whole other planet. So what happens is we delegate. I'm going to say great assistants and systems will allow us to be able to do the important things in life. You have to understand the power of leverage, and you have to leverage your systems and technology, and you have to leverage people, human resources. Because the thing that's more important to you is probably your spouse than showing a buyer. And yet, how often do you let your spouse down because you have an appointment to go show a home? Isn't that true? And so when you're clear on what your priorities are, it makes a difference. And so we create